Before a man can see the queen in you, you must return to your throne. That throne isn't outside of you. It isn't built by validation, admiration, or being chosen by someone else. That throne is inside your soul, and it's been waiting for you to sit down, straighten your crown, and stop asking the world for permission to be powerful. A queen doesn't beg to be loved. She remembers she is love. She doesn't lower herself to be accepted. She rises, and those who are meant to rise with her will do so. When a woman truly reclaims her inner throne, something shifts. She no longer needs attention. She commands respect without even speaking. And here's what happens when you sit in that truth. People feel it. Men feel it. They feel the difference between a woman who is reaching for attention and a woman who already has her own. A woman who is not waiting to be rescued, but is already leading herself. And that's the kind of woman who doesn't get overlooked. She gets pursued because she represents something different in a world of confusion and pretense. She's not in competition with anyone. She's not proving her worth through a relationship. She's simply living in alignment with it. But to sit on that throne, you've got to release the identity that was shaped by brokenness. The version of you who accepted less because she feared being alone. The version of you who tried to fix people to feel valuable. That woman did what she had to do to survive. She was strong, but now it's time to evolve. Because the queen version of you doesn't shrink in relationships. She expands. She isn't afraid to walk away from anything that disturbs her peace. She doesn't force love. She chooses it with discernment, with patience, with self-respect. Men are deeply drawn to women who know who they are, not because of ego, but because of presence. That's the secret. When you know who you are, you stop begging to be seen. You become the vision. You stop needing to be chosen. You become the choice. You become the choice. And that is where your power lives. Not in the chase, not in the proving, but in the deep, sacred knowing that you are already complete. When you reclaim your throne, you send out a new frequency, and only those who are aligned with it will be able to access you. That's the queen's way. She doesn't lock her heart out of fear. She protects it with wisdom. She doesn't confuse loneliness with standards. She honors the season she's in, trusting that the right king won't need to be convinced. He'll recognize her, not just for her beauty, but for her energy, her depth, her alignment. And that is when the real shift begins, not just in how others treat you, but in how you treat yourself. You stop chasing love and start embodying it. You stop settling for crumbs and start preparing for the feast. Because a queen doesn't just attract men, she inspires them to rise. And the man who is truly meant for her, he doesn't just chase her, he chooses her. Because she already chose herself to fit in with his comfort. She lets it shine so bright that only the man who can stand in that brilliance will even dare to step forward. That's not ego, that's alignment. You don't become magnetic by being louder or more noticeable. You become magnetic by being real, real with your standards, real with your intentions, real with your emotions. Men sense the difference between a woman who is centered in herself and one who is performing for attention. One draws you in with force, the other invites you in with grace. There's a calm, quiet confidence in a woman who knows she is enough. She doesn't rush the process. She lets life unfold. Because when you stop trying to control how things go, you open the door for what's truly meant for you. And that's the moment everything begins to shift. You see, when you're magnetic, you don't have to explain yourself over and over. You don't have to ask where you stand or beg for consistency. A man knows when he's dealing with a woman who values herself. He knows he has to rise to meet her or risk losing her. And if he doesn't rise, that's fine too. Because a queen never lowers her frequency to accommodate someone's inability to meet her. That's the energy that flips everything. When a woman no longer waits to be chosen and instead chooses herself, the entire game changes. You stop tolerating half love. A woman who stands in her truth, unshaken and unapologetic, that he'll be drawn to. Not because she chased him, but because she didn't have to. When a woman constantly initiates, constantly gives, and constantly tries to hold everything together, she creates an imbalance. Not because she's wrong for loving deeply, but because the energy becomes one-sided. And relationships, real ones, are born from mutual effort and equal pursuit. A queen doesn't chase because she understands the sacredness of space. She knows that if she's always available, always reaching out, always making it easy, she leaves no room for him to come toward her. But when she steps back, not out of games, but out of self-respect, she invites him to lead. She gives him the chance to reveal his intentions through his actions, not just his words. The power of silence isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. Clear on what you will and won't accept. Clear on the fact that someone who truly values you will never be confused about showing up for you. Silence isn't punishment, it's protection. It's choosing not to entertain half love. It's allowing someone to feel the weight of your absence so they can reflect on the depth of your presence. And space. Space is a gift. A woman who gives a man space shows that she's not operating from desperation. She's not trying to force a connection. She trusts herself, and she trusts the truth. She knows that if it's real, space won't destroy it. It will reveal it. Space doesn't break healthy relationships. It exposes unhealthy ones. If he drifts away when she stops overgiving, then he was never really grounded in the first place. But if he rises in her absence, then he's worthy of standing beside her in her presence. Sometimes when you stop speaking, people finally start listening. When you stop explaining, they finally start understanding. Because when a queen goes quiet, it's not out of weakness, it's out of strength. It's her way of reclaiming her energy. And a man who's attuned to her energy will feel that shift. He will feel that she is no longer fighting to be seen. She's simply allowing herself to be. And in that being, she becomes irresistible. A queen knows that what is meant for her will find her not when she chases it, but when she becomes aligned with it. Silence and space become sacred tools, not of manipulation, but of embodiment. She is not creating distance to punish. She is creating distance to protect her peace and let what's real rise to the surface. Because if he's meant for her, he won't disappear when she pulls back. He'll draw closer. He'll show up. So never be afraid to be still. Never be afraid to let silence speak. Your energy communicates louder than your words ever could. And the right man will not need to be chased, begged, or reminded of your worth. He'll feel it in your presence and in your silence. You said, expend key point 4 in 600 words according to prompt without any heading and flow. Speech naturally according to overall key points and add only necessary ending line. ChatGPT said, a queen doesn't just hope for respect, She commands it not through force or fear, but through the way she carries herself and sets her boundaries. Her standards are not a wall built out of bitterness. They are the gate through which only those with genuine intentions may enter. She doesn't apologize for having expectations. She doesn't shrink herself so others feel more comfortable. She knows that love without boundaries is not love. It's chaos, and she knows that a man who truly values her will not be offended by her limits. He will be drawn to the structure they create because boundaries do not keep love out, they keep confusion away. Too many women confuse being loving with being available at all costs. They think being chosen requires tolerance of inconsistency, silence in the face of disrespect, or acceptance of bare minimum effort. But a queen knows that every time she says no to what doesn't serve her, she is saying yes to her worth. And that yes is powerful. It's magnetic. It tells the world and every man in it that she is not afraid to walk alone if it means staying true to herself. A boundary is not a threat. It's a declaration. It says, this is who I am. This is what I need. This is how I love. And this is what I will not accept. It is not an ultimatum. It's an invitation to rise. And the right man will not see a boundary as rejection. He'll see it as a map, a guide to loving her well. Because queens do not settle for potential. They align with action. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. And if a man knows that you will stay even when he gives you the bare minimum, he has no reason to give you more. But when you show him that you value your peace more than his presence, everything shifts. He begins to understand that access to you is a privilege, not a guarantee. That's when real effort begins to surface. Boundaries are not about building a fortress. They're about building a standard. And in the realm of queens, standards are sacred. They are what separate the worthy from the willing. Not every man who shows interest deserves your energy. Not every man who wants to be around you knows how to value what he has. But when you stand firm in your truth, when you hold the line even when it's hard, you make space for someone who is not just available, but aligned. A queen who knows how to say no is not intimidating. She's inspiring. She gives other women permission to do the same. She shifts the culture from pleasing to honoring, and the man who is ready for her will not see her boundaries as walls. He'll see them as the door to something real, something grounded, something worth fighting for. So do not be afraid to disappoint someone who expected you to disappoint yourself. Do not lower your frequency to make someone else feel comfortable in their avoidance. Let your boundaries filter out the noise. Let them create the silence where only truth remains. Because the love that is meant for you will never require you to betray yourself to keep it. And the man who is ready for a queen will come not to cross your boundaries, but to respect and rise to meet them. There is a sacred power in a woman who moves through life in her feminine flow, soft yet strong, graceful yet grounded. She doesn't force outcomes, she doesn't chase validation, and she certainly doesn't compete for love. She knows who she is, and that knowing is her crown. A queen never enters a room asking, "Am I enough?" She walks in declaring, "I am more than enough," without ever speaking a word. That's the power of feminine energy. It's not about seduction. It's about sovereignty. It's the quiet confidence of a woman who doesn't need to prove her worth because she already lives in it. When a woman leans into her feminine essence, she becomes magnetic. Not because she's trying to be, but because authenticity always shines. She's not trying to be loud to be heard. She's not exhausting herself, trying to be everything for everyone. Instead, she is rooted in her truth. She receives rather than chases. She listens to her intuition. She allows instead of controls. And in that surrender, she finds her strength. Because feminine energy isn't weak, it's wisdom. It doesn't push, it flows. It doesn't demand, it draws. It doesn't grasp, it trusts. Many women have been conditioned to believe they must hustle for love. Be the loudest, be the prettiest, be the most available, be low maintenance, be whatever it takes to be chosen. But a queen knows she is not here to earn love. She is here to embody it. And the love that is meant for her will not require her to become less of herself to keep it. She understands that competing with other women or trying to outperform someone else is a race that leads nowhere. Because what's real doesn't require performance. It requires presence. There's a quiet elegance to a woman who lets go of force. She doesn't have to manipulate outcomes because she trusts divine timing. She doesn't try to control the pace of the relationship because she's not anxious, she's anchored, she's not looking to possess anyone. She's allowing everything that is aligned to find her. And when a man encounters a woman in that energy, he feels the difference. He doesn't feel pressure. He feels peace. He doesn't feel chaos. He feels clarity because her energy is not loud, it's luminous. Being in your feminine doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're powerful in a way that doesn't mimic masculinity. It means you're deeply connected to your emotional intelligence. You can feel without being overwhelmed. You can express without overexposing. You can hold space, not only for others, but for yourself. And a woman who can hold herself emotionally, spiritually, and energetically is a woman who naturally inspires others to rise. This is the energy that invites a man to pursue, not because he feels obligated, but because he feels drawn, drawn to her peace, drawn to her grace, drawn to the way she honors herself. She's not trying to get attention. She's focused on her alignment. She's not auditioning for a role in someone else's life. She's writing the script of her own. And that self-possession, that ability to stay grounded while being soft, is what makes her unforgettable. So let go of force. Let go of competition. Let go of chasing anything that requires you to abandon your feminine truth. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Just be who you are, fully, unapologetically, and joyfully. Because when you stay in your flow, the right one won't need to be convinced to stay. He'll want to stay. Not because you tried to pull him in, but because your presence made him realize he'd be a fool to let you go. A true queen is not sitting around waiting to be chosen. She's too busy choosing herself. She doesn't live her life revolving around a man, his presence, or even the hope of his pursuit. She is rooted in something deeper, purpose. Because while beauty may capture attention and charm may open doors, it is purpose that keeps the fire lit. A woman walking in purpose moves differently. She carries herself with vision. She speaks with clarity. She walks with alignment. And that energy doesn't just attract, it awakens. It inspires. It invites a man to rise, not simply chase. A woman of purpose doesn't just want a relationship. She wants a partnership that reflects her journey. She doesn't want to be the center of someone's world. She wants to build a world together, brick by brick, dream by dream. Her days are filled with intention. Her time is sacred. Her goals are not optional. And when she meets a man, he can feel the fire in her. She's not available for games, confusion, or inconsistency. She's focused, she's becoming, she's too invested in the life she's creating to settle for love that distracts instead of supports. Men are not only drawn to beauty, they are drawn to purpose. They are pulled in by the presence of a woman who knows where she's going and why. Because something powerful happens when a woman leads with vision. She no longer waits to be validated by someone else's choice. She becomes the standard, and a man who sees that won't treat her like an option. He'll treat her like alignment. He'll recognize that to stand beside her means to grow, evolve, and contribute. Because queens don't just demand love, they inspire greatness. Living in your purpose doesn't mean you can't desire love. It means you desire the kind of love that builds, not just entertains. You want a man who sees your vision and says, "How can I support that?" A man who respects your path, who honors your time, and who understands that loving you means nurturing your mission, not minimizing it. And when he sees how you carry yourself, how you balance grace with grit, softness with strength, presence with power, he won't hesitate. He'll step forward. Not because you asked him to chase, but because he saw something worth catching. Purpose is what anchors you when emotions run high. It keeps you grounded when relationships shift. It reminds you that no matter who comes or goes, your life has meaning. It teaches you to prioritize peace over attention, alignment over attraction, and destiny over distraction. So when you unlock the queen mindset, don't just sit on your throne waiting. Build the kingdom. Nurture your dreams. Create impact. Because the man who is meant to stand beside you will not be intimidated by your power. He'll be activated by it. And when that happens, you won't have to wonder if he sees your worth. He'll show you through action, presence, and consistency. Not because you chased him, but because you stayed committed to yourself.